thank you guys for coming out. We have an amazing panel here, and I personally mainly focus on media and entertainment, meaning like film and television, the way that Epic, arranges the verticals. But personally, I'm so passionate and just love all the innovations going on in the live event space. And Coachella has been at the absolute cutting edge for the last few years. They've assembled an amazing internal team that's future-facing and just so eager to embrace, the coming metaverse and XR crossover and Fortnite and all these amazing 3D social interactive tools that extend the creative canvas of the festival. So we're going to deep dive on two sides of how Coachella engages with Unreal Engine today. The first half of the talk, we're going to talk about the UEFN, or the Fortnite Creative Island development that happened last year, soon to be UEFN. And then the second half of the talk, we're going to talk about the augmented reality broadcast that went out to the YouTube live stream of, many millions of people. And they got to see a special enhanced virtual show on top of the show. And so I'll introduce our panelists. First, we have Ryan Senecola from Coachella's innovation team, Mac Jack, Mackenzie Jackson from Alliance Studios. We have some Alliance Studios here, too. Thank you guys for coming out. Juan Santillan from 6 Degrees, and Berto Mora from All of It Now. So first, I just wanted to talk about why live events and live music events specifically are so interesting as an application for the technologies that Epic develops. Because really, there's these verticals of touch points that people are able to engage with Epic on. There's, the Fortnite side for the gamers, Unreal Engine for the developer ecosystem, and now being deployed in the field for all these different enterprise applications. And then now the coming tools with Fab, where, creators who are building these worlds either on the Unreal side or the Fortnite side will be able to have, a persistent marketplace and monetize some of the assets and have ancillary revenue streams. But on the Fortnite side, the concerts that we've done directly in the game are pretty iconic, so I don't have to explain them to you guys. But essentially, it's really broadened the audience for Fortnite beyond Battle Royale and made it a much more universal, engaging experience that people can have, social interactions with friends in a way that lowers the pressure and the barrier to entry versus, the highly technical skills you have to be really good in the Battle Royale mode. Skins, obviously, there's opportunity for avatars and creative expression, which is so core to the Onsite festival experience too, and that translates really nicely over to the metaverse. And then creative, with the coming creator tools in Fortnite, these festivals don't have to be time limited anymore. They can be persistent experiences where that community that forms when you're on site experiencing these events can live on year round, which is super exciting. On the Unreal Engine side, it's being adopted at all points of the festival process. So a lot of studios are designing the stages directly in Unreal. We have our DMX plugin where you can even preview lighting and program shows. Certain shows now, the really brave ones, are actually ditching any pre-rendered content whatsoever, and what they're actually putting on the giant iMags and LED walls that are powering these shows is just an Unreal application that's doing live output, and it allows for real-time visuals where you have a VJ alongside the DJ who's just like jamming and improvising and creating amazing, incredible visuals. And then, of course, we're going to show you guys how Unreal can also be used for augmented reality on top of the broadcast. And finally, Unreal powers virtual shows, which have no physical counterpart, such as the Wave XR and that breed, Red Pill VR, and that breed of shows where you can go inside these metaverse-type experiences, and it's super social and engaging and fun, and it's all centered around music, which has universal appeal. And on the Fab side, these festivals have amazing art generated for them, and they're really building complex worlds and narratives. And, it's almost an expression of fandom. And, the old adage about music touring is that the real money's made on the merch. That can translate into these virtual experiences as well. And really, at the end of the day, why I think it's exciting is it's about building worlds that are persistent across multiple touch points and deepen fan engagement. And, I'm excited that Epic provides like multiple ways to bring those fans together and make them feel like they have a deeper engagement with the festivals. And ultimately, it crosses all barriers of physical and virtual space now, and persistent year-round versus limited experiences. And so some of the festival highlights from 2023 that happened in Unreal, in case you missed it, and Fortnite, were that Coachella dropped their Skins 2.0 pack, so you could buy avatars and play as Coachella-inspired characters. They had their island launch, which was massively successful, and we'll jump into the details of how that was made. They put AR on the broadcast year 2, so we did Flume in 2022, and then in 2023 we did the Gorillaz, Bad Bunny, and BlackPink. So we expanded the lineup. And then Tomorrowland I put on here just because it's another festival that uses it in a different way, where they are powering the stages live in Unreal. And I think that those 3 legs of the triangle come together in a really interesting way, where now it's a transmedia vision of using the same assets across all of these platforms. And many artists are now embracing the tools as an amazing expression of their visual canvas. So we're learning about more and more artists every day whose the visual design teams are building an engine. So with that, we'll dive a little bit more into Coachella's vision for world building and how they go about it. So Ryan, please.
Thank you, Brian. Hi, everyone. It's really great to be here. It's my first time here at Unreal Fest, meeting a lot of you pushing the boundaries of entertainment. It inspires us. And so I'm Ryan Senecola. I'm a producer on our Coachella innovation team, representing a really talented team. I oversee all of our various programs, which we'll talk about in a moment, and also develop and produce the creative content that supports all of these programs. I want to shout out Eric Guagliardo in the back, XR producer and gaming producer, also key piece to all of this. I want to briefly touch on world building at Coachella, why we think about world building, why is the festival thinking about world building, how we think about it, and then hand it off to the very talented folks up here to talk about the execution of those programs. Quickly, who here has been to Coachella? Very nice. Who has been to Coachella Island in Fortnite? I know a lot of you have, yes. Great. And who has watched Coachella on the YouTube live stream? Great. And this is kind of a key aspect of what we're talking about here. People engage with Coachella in many different ways. There are 250,000 people that attend the in-person festival, but there are millions that follow along online, right? And so that's what world building is all about for us. It's how do we make sure that every fan that's engaging with Coachella on these digital platforms is engaging in an authentic Coachella experience. And so, Coachella started as a 40,000 person festival in the middle of the desert, and over the past 23 years has grown into this global festival. We have international artists on the lineup. Fans from across the globe travel to the California desert to attend as this sort of rite of passage. And we attribute a lot of that growth to Coachella's, sort of history of scaling on these digital platforms and being first adopters. Coachella was one of the first festivals to sort of adopt social media and really promote the festival real time on platforms like Instagram. It was one of the first platforms to live stream the festival on YouTube, which was seen, a lot of the word back then was that was going to be detrimental to the business. People aren't going to want to go to the actual show, and actually it drove a lot of growth. And so that's exactly how we're thinking about virtual and 3D platforms now, right? These are new platforms for us to be able to expand and scale Coachella experiences for those who just want to play a part in the fun. And so I'm going to just talk about 2 principles that sort of guide our world building, and then we'll dig into the specifics. The first is that Coachella is a platform for discovery. And at Coachella, we connect fans with their favorite artists and establish the opportunities for discovery. That sort of spontaneous discovery is a key part of the festival experience, right? And we like to think of Coachella, we make this analogy a lot, is Coachella is like an open world game where you come and create your own adventure. You do it with your friends in the concurrent environment, and it's live. And so that's why we're so inspired by, the concerts that were done in Fortnite and just Battle Royale in general. It's just like, it's almost, creating this one-to-one of what Coachella actually is. And so obviously these are platforms that are that really drive that first principle, right? Creating this platform for discovery. And that is a key, again, principle that Mac Jack will talk about in a moment. And the second principle is Coachella is a canvas for creativity. So we want to provide the infrastructure that allows artists to create the creations of their dreams, right? To manifest their largest visions. And also to invite new creators onto this canvas and to be featured on this canvas. What that actually means is, we've, throughout the years, obviously we feature music performances, but we also feature large-scale art installations. We feature lighting designers and visual artists that create the shows for these artists, or for the performing artists. There's also culinary art. So Coachella is more than just the music performances, right? Social creators, et cetera. And so as, we're really excited about the barriers between virtual and physical creativity being blurred. We're generating this virtual layer of the festival, if you will, with tools like Unreal, on which festival artists can play on and paint on, and that new creators like those that built Coachella Island and Fortnite, many of which are in the room with us right now, can be featured. Finally, I'll just touch one quick note is we're really investing in this world building, right? So we're developing a lot of marketing content. We're creating a lot of this lore that's sort of inspired by the festival itself. An example of that is we created this narrative device we call the Mirage, where if you go to something like Coachella or any sort of music experience or great, communal experience, there is this magic in the air, right? There's this great feeling. It's why we go. And we wanted to give that feeling, sort of make it tangible and give it a look and feel and give it a name. And so that's what the Mirage is. And the Mirage is the representation of the creative energy at the festival that drives a lot of the creativity there. And then it's this sort of interdimensional narrative device, if you will, that we express on our content, on Coachella Island and Fortnite, on the live AR bumpers, and then also across the physical festival. And so to talk about Coachella Island and Fortnite and how these principles are sort of brought to life there, I'll hand it off.
I can just see the clicker, yeah? Yep, right. Perfect. Awesome. Thanks so much for coming, guys. I really appreciate you being here. For those who don't know, I am Mackenzie, or Mac Jack. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Alliance Studios. We're a studio creating games and partnering with brands looking to reach the gaming audience and to make a footprint inside the Fortnite metaverse. We create fun, unique games and experiences with our goal to target multiple audiences and to share our love of creativity and gaming with the players. We were founded in 2019 just as a duo team, pioneering the commercial space within Fortnite Creative. And then our growth came with the opportunity, and we're now a team of 13 in this space working in Fortnite Creative and UEFN. We worked directly with Epic Games. I'm not sure what's happening on the slide there, but we worked directly with Epic Games across multiple projects with them, starting from the Tomb Raider experience, leading up into the Soundwave series, the Kid Leroy's Wildest Dreams, and of course, Coachella Island. For us, we were really excited to work with Coachella on this project. Because we really resonated with their values as a brand. They have this sense of community, they value art and artists, and just creativity and innovation, and those just really were powerful values for us to partner with. Why is Fortnite a strong virtual analog to the physical festival experience? So oftentimes, why as a brand would you want to get into the gaming space? It's very clear, in my opinion, the Fortnite players are so excited about creativity and gaming and innovation, and getting in this space is a huge opportunity for a lot of brands. And for me, the numbers speak for themselves. With millions of players worldwide playing, this large community creates a sense of togetherness and a shared experience, much like the physical festival where people come together to celebrate. Gaming as a whole allows for connecting with like-minded individuals to have fun together, and the social aspects mirror the social interactions that occur at festivals, where people come together to meet new friends and to share experiences. So you can turn your space from real life into a virtual world where we can provide a platform for immersive storytelling through interactive gameplay. Players can explore the brand's world, characters, and lore in a way that's more engaging than your traditional storytelling methods. So bringing Coachella to life in Fortnite, it started with us first understanding the brand and then understanding the Fortnite audience and what they had in common to really build a really fun experience for the fan base. It started with the ideation. So for us, we went back and forth with Epic and Coachella and Robot to ideate what the island was going to be, the games that were going to exist in the space, and what it was going to look like. Then we went into the concepting phase, which was really cool for this one. We really wanted to look at the actual venue map and think about how we could make that fantastical. And we took note on the Mirage element and thought, if we could have the Mirage separating the venue layout into these floating islands and what that would look like. So our team got into concepting and drawing out, different ideas on what this could look like in this virtual space. So concepting out before we actually went into the engine and developed was a key part to this experience. And then we also went back and forth with the different parties involved. So for this specifically, the Coachella, it's so well known for being in the desert, and the assets that we're using in the space, because we're working in Fortnite Creative 1.0, we weren't able to custom bring in unique assets into the game. We were working with the assets that were in the actual platform. So we provided, these are the current palm trees that we're able to put in, and making sure that we're aligning with all parties, that we're representing the brand the best that we can, and deciding the different assets from there. And then we go into the blocking stage, so we start blocking it out, understanding where the player's going to be standing at in the game, making sure their point of view makes sense and that the content that they want to get to is easily accessible. So that blocking stage is super important for us. And then we just develop it out. So here's a quick time lapse showing us building it. This project took 5 months developing, and there were 8 creators from Alliance Studios that worked on this project. And if you guys would like to stand up, anybody in the audience on Alliance that worked on the project, feel free to stand up. Awesome work from the team on that.
Go Alliance.
And then we go into the more reviewing stages. So after we've developed it all out, we need to get in and really assess, is this what is going to represent this best? Are the players going to understand the game and get in? So we really get in and critique it out and understand, what needs to be tweaked and adjusted. And then we make those adjustments and go live with it. We do obviously run into some challenges when we're building these experiences, and we run into some limitations here and there. And one of those is the memory limitations that we ran into with the Fortnite Creative 1.0 space. That was probably our biggest challenge within this project. We were kit bashing all of the assets together, which the Spectra that you just saw being built there, it took about 20 to 30 hours of kit bashing tiny little primitive pieces to be built up. And those are little challenges that we had to work within the 1.0 creative space that I'm really excited about the future UEFN space that we're gonna be able to quicken up and make even better and more exciting for the future. And then the results and how Coachella, performed and how successful it was. There were over 3 million players in week 1 that hopped into Coachella Island. Over 150 years spent on the island, and 5 years spent within 2 hours of launch. Absolutely incredible results. I was very excited to be able to attend the festival myself and get to talk to some of the attendees and have them actually hop in the island and play, and getting to experience that was really cool to see that in real life and virtual worlds coming together.
Yeah, one thing to add, we did some quick math, and we figured out that, over the past 23 years of people going to Coachella, 8 hours a day, we did the math of how many people as the festival grew, and it was about 220 years that people have spent cumulatively at the festival. And so to see this, I think eventually we got to over 180 years spent in Coachella Island cumulatively. It's that's incredible to see people immersed in an experience, right? It's not just an impression on a video either. It's people were in a very branded and well thought out experience for that long, and so that level of scale and reach is really impactful and really amazing.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And let's take a look at what it resulted in.
You all captured the magic, 100%. And for more magic on our broadcast stream, send it over to Juan and Berto.
Thank you, Ryan. Hi, everybody. Also super excited to be here. My name is Juan Santillan. I am the CEO and executive producer at CGRE of Freedom. We are a production company that integrates XR technologies at live events, virtual reality, mobile augmented reality, and also broadcast augmented reality. Like Ryan mentioned, there's about 250,000 fans that attend Coachella every year, at least recently. But there's many millions that watch it over YouTube. So it makes a lot of sense to also bring world building into the broadcast using augmented reality. Not only to bring some of the awesome elements built on those worlds, but also because then we can give the opportunity to the bands to also expand the creative canvas of their stage performance. This is the second year that we do broadcast AR at Coachella. We grow the program from 1 band to 3 bands. Also, we do interstitial content throughout the broadcast. All of that is programmed on weekend 1 and weekend 2 of the festival. And we're basically in charge of supplementing the existing broadcast with AR infrastructure. And also, we oversee end-to-end from content creation all the way to the live execution. First, I would like to discuss some of the important learnings from previous years that absolutely help us make this year more successful. Starting with how important it is to streamline content creation. And I'll tell these because this is something that as developers, producers, we always struggle with that balance of how much control you want to have and then also how much creative freedom you want to give. And in this case, it's very important for our Coachella producers that we empower and enable the bands. So it was kind of like very important that when we came and discussed with the bands about adding augmented reality to their shows, that we did it in a way that we're giving them freedom for them to create, for them to work with their trusted partners and whatnot. So that's the way to go, but also create complications because now as an execution team, as a production team, we're dealing with different sources of content, right? And the reality is that a lot of these creative partners for the bands, maybe they have never worked on Unreal. So we made a very good decision this year where we basically said, okay, we really need to figure out the best way to streamline the content. We created content Bibles. We also, and this was like really cool, we created a template in Unreal of Coachella main stage. And then we gave that to all of these creators. And by doing that, immediately we knew that whatever they were building was kind of like unified, standardized, same world scale and whatnot. So super important whenever you have kind of like a mixed reality activation and have several creators to make sure that everybody starts kind of like with the same world to build. Lastly, another important thing that is part of our job supervising this is, we're constantly doing QA to all the assets that are being created by third parties, and important advice always to use the show engines throughout pre-production. So when you are on site, you know that you're using the same equipment, same machines, everything performance and whatnot. Another important aspect is that, and this is kind of like very innate of the Coachella environment, is that I always said over-communicate. You are dealing here, yes, with development, pre-production and whatnot, and like what most of us are used to, but then also there's a physical component. There's departments and a lot of people that come together at a music festival like Coachella. So I always tell my teams, right, is like never assume, investigate, ask, document. But that's the only way that you can really understand all the touch points that are gonna be critical when you show up to an event. And the last thing is like, yes, definitely make these very detailed plans, as I just said before, but also make sure you're building buffers on your resources and your time, because, and again, this is my 10th year doing some kind of XR technologies at Coachella, and it is a super fluid environment, right? There's curveballs coming at you at any given moment. So very important to be mindful and knowing that when you are executing on a live event, you have to also have a little bit of that flexibility. I want to talk a little bit about the on-site production plan, because I believe most likely pre-production and all that stuff you are very familiar. Let's start with the tech stack. So we use this type mechanical encoder for tracking. Our AR compositing toolkit was Typeland, stage precision for the show management and control, and we build all the content in UE version 5.1. It takes about 4 days to set up at Coachella, and not necessarily because it takes 4 days, but because this is also like a very well orchestrated project where there's dependencies and you're also working in tandem with other teams, the artist teams, the broadcast teams and whatnot. So we do all of this in about 4 days. Day one, basically we load in, we build our control room. We're in a very isolated, self-contained environment. We make sure that all our equipment is working properly. We do a final test before we actually send things to the wild. On day two, that's very important and also a very rushed process where we finally get cameras, mechanical trackers outside. That's when we start making sure that we're faxing and getting signal, video signal, returns, time code to make sure that we sync these with the band's performance. DMX if we want, actors on our virtual worlds that also match the shows. And then lastly, like once we're all set up in our workflow, then we go to another important process of making sure that we are integrated into the rest of the broadcast infrastructure at Coachella, which we're talking about 6 or 7 different broadcast trucks and maybe an operation of 300 people on site working on broadcast. Once we're set up with all our infrastructure, day 3 is basically the first opportunity we have to actually start looking our virtual world and do world calibration, which, as you can imagine, is the process of aligning our virtual world with our physical world. Berto will talk a little bit more in detail about that. And also is the last opportunity to see if we have any problems or technical needs with our content. We make sure everything is playing back properly and whatnot. These so we can be ready for day 4. And day 4 is like one of like the most kind of like dynamic days that we have in this type of shows, because that's the moment where the bands, the teams of the bands, right, creative directors, lighting directors will come, video directors will come to our production unit, and we're gonna do 2 hours of reviewing the content, making any final tweaks to lighting. This is also where we give feeds to the lighting director so they can even adjust the physical lights on the stage to enhance our experience. And at that point, we do our camera blocking as well. And after day 4, now we're ready to do a show. And that, for us, means that we're going to be Friday, Saturday, Sunday running the engines, about 6 engines, right, this year, super hard, and we run Berto even harder, right? So now Berto is going to go a little bit deeper on the technical side of things. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so my name is Berto Mora. I'm a partner and CTO at All of It Now. All of It Now is a hybrid creative agency based out of Los Angeles, and we like to implement latest, greatest technology into live events. And something that we're really proud of at All of It Now is that we were the first authorized, Unreal Engine authorized service partner. So really, really proud of our team that we were able to get that award. All right, so let's start. I have less than 10 minutes, and this is probably more than an hour. So today I'm going to explain a little bit of how we unify the virtual and physical world at Coachella. And one of the first things that we do is we work with Coachella to take or get the 3D models of the stage. Grabbing the stage's 3D model is very important for us because all of our augmented reality is going to be composited around the stage. So one of the things that we do is we create a template with the real world scale stage, as you can see here, and what we do is we distribute that template to all the artists that are going to be creating content. And with that, our artists can use the stage as a real world scale stage that when we go on site, we can essentially line up. One thing that's very important throughout the process is as we're checking all the content that the content creators are creating, we need to make sure that everything is running in real time. And this real time is determined, at least in live broadcast, based on the frame rate that you're going to be streaming. So it could be 60, 30, 59.4, 29.7, as some of you may know. And with that, we can, if you want to go to the next slide, Juan, we can. So with that, once we go on site, what we do is we set up all of our augmented reality mechanical systems. So in this case, we use Stipe technology. And Stipe is able to get lens intrinsics and distortion into Unreal Engine via the Stipe HF protocol. So with that, we're able to package all the lens intrinsics, all of the data that we get from the augmented reality tracking system, and package all that up, send it through fiber all the way to Video Village where we have all of our engines set up. Once we receive all that data, what we do is we use Unreal Engine and we use Stipeland. Stipeland is Stipe's version of their compositing augmented reality virtual production toolkit, and it works very nicely with their systems and their protocol. So with all that, once we receive the data, the Stipe is able to composite the video feed and all the distortion data that comes in through the protocol so that we get the correct lens distortion for augmented reality, which is one of the most important things for AR and any virtual production work that we do. With that, what we can do, as you can see, we have a pink mesh that we use, or a material that we apply on the mesh. And this for us is really important because this is how we line up our virtual world to our physical world. So what we do is we do measurement calculations of an origin point on stage. We do all the calculations of where the camera is in 3D space, in physical space. We take all that data, then we bring it back to Unreal Engine, type it all in, and we should be roughly in the vicinity of where that camera should live in virtual space within the Cinecamera of Unreal Engine and the viewport. And once we're there, there might be a little bit of tweaking. As you can see here, we're adjusting and aligning the pink mesh material onto the stage and these big giant speaker towers. So with that, that allows us to easily line up our world. But one other really cool thing that we have done with this is we have taken the 3D mesh and the 3D lineup virtual mesh, and we are now using that as a 3D occlusion mask. And this is very important because a lot of the augmented reality that you see today is really just a 2D layer that's composited on top of your video, and video's 2D, right? And we're working in 3D space. So by having that 3D mesh and lining it up properly, we can now cut out a 3D mask out of the 2D video, which allows us to composite graphics behind physical objects. And that's something that is fairly new, but also really makes takes augmented reality to the next level because, as I mentioned, a lot of these graphics usually are composited on top, but now we can interact with graphics in physical space. And we can take a virtual graphic, it can go around the stage or come out of the behind the stage by using that 3D mesh to take augmented reality that much further. So once we line all this up, we're ready to essentially run the show. And with this, we go into show running. And since All of It Now has a big background in live events, and have integrated a lot of the protocols and data streams that are standards in live events. For example, we use DMX to either control different parameters or control lighting within our scenes. We get that data from the lighting board, from the LD that's controlling the physical lights, but also adjusting the lights within the engine to better integrate the graphics. Another thing that we use is timecode. So timecode allows us to drive the animations on time with the music so that it's always synchronized properly. And we also do different types of triggering. So depending on if your content or your visual person that's on site, they want to trigger specific assets or specific triggers, you can do that. So that's kind of how you control it. And with stage precision, we also use it as a system to control all of our engines. So some of you guys are familiar with Epic's version of like the remote control and also switchboard. But we've taken a software called Stage Precision that has allowed us to build our UIs. It's used a lot in the music industry and also virtual production. But this allows us to create all of our widgets to control the engine, launch all of our graphics, bring the engines down, and do all sorts of stuff. It's also a really good system to monitor your data because one of the things about augmented reality and a lot of the work that we do is you always want to essentially have a wow moment. So like when you cut to that camera, you really don't want to see the graphic right away. So we've worked within the stuff that we do, we like to either animate it in or fade it in so that we give that wow moment to the audience. And with that, when you're doing that, you have a clean plate and you don't see anything. So for us, that's always a fear that, is our augmented reality camera lined up? Are the graphics gonna go up? So we always have a backup machine, and this machine is a backup of any of the cameras that we use, so that if a camera goes down or an engine goes down, we automatically have a backup system that's ready to go, and we control all that through Stage Precision. And as you can see, in the video here, you can see Bad Bunny's content animating and playing, and it's all in engine. All the augmented reality that we do is in engine, so in and out from Unreal, which I really want to thank Stipe for that, because we've tried a lot of other different tools for augmented reality, but we've been really limited on the development of other softwares. And Stipe, the beauty about the Stipeline plugin is that it's an actual plugin that goes into any of the engine versions that you can use. And all the plugins and parameters and things within Unreal Engine are supported by Stipeline. Stipeline just receives and composites the data. And that for us has made the process really, really easy. But that's it in a nutshell. I hope this, gave you an insight of how this type of work is done, and I'll pass it on to Brian.
Nice work, everyone. So with that, I just, like I said, I'm super passionate, and what excites me is seeing these worlds collide of, the virtual and the physical space, and them start to bleed together in ways that are really interesting and dynamic and give audiences experiences they've never had before. So with that in mind, where do you guys want to continue to evolve this convergence of the technology and, take these experiences for people to the next level?
I think that Unreal is a great example of the tools to kind of minimize that space between an idea and bringing it to life are becoming more and more accessible every day, right? Especially with Unreal. So I think a lot of the people in this room and at this conference are, have access to these tools now where they can create experiences like this in their homes, right? And as a festival with this global platform, we want to be featuring those creators, right? So an example of that is after Coachella Island launched, we had this program called Coachella Picks, where we were featuring, music-focused islands through portals off of Coachella Island. So we want to continue doing that, using these platforms like Coachella Island to feature independent creators, innovative creators, and just continue offering this infrastructure and tools for artists to, bring them to life in ways that we couldn't have imagined.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited because I think we started Coachella Island when it was Fortnite Creative 1.0. So now they released UEFN toolset, and creators are able to push the limits and really innovate. And they're bringing in, they announced here new music tools are coming. We're super excited about the new possibilities with UEFN. So definitely excited about what's next.
Sorry. I think we can all agree that we are seeing, like never before, a lot of 3D out there, right? We are seeing it on gaming, we're seeing it in broadcast, 3D billboards, mobile AR, geospatial AR by Google. So there's all of these 3D being created, and certainly the tools to create it, libraries, Fav, all of that is enabling a world with more 3D. I'm excited about soon, like in the near future, to seeing more transmedia executions, where if there's already an asset created for Coachella Island, you can then see it on the broadcast, but then you can also see it on the mobile phone, and so on and so forth. The same time, so I think that's kind of like what's coming, right? But I can also say that there's a lot of friction on that kind of like transmedia world that we want to see. It was a very interesting success that the Gorillaz animations that you saw on Coachella broadcast, actually those were originally created for a mobile AR activation. So I think like we helped kind of like start creating this world in which we want to live of transmedia. But like I said, the next challenge for us is like we're going to have a lot of more content, but still some of the things that we do around virtual production and live mixed reality are very complicated, right? Like the resources that we use, human, time, and also hardware, like is not that simple. So I think like for us, we're working very hard to figure out like if we're doing one stage at Coachella, right? What does it take, and what does have to change, and what we can do to do 10 stages in the future, right? Like graphics packages are distributed across every part of the broadcast, for example. So I think I'm excited that we are, let's say the past few years for mixed reality have been kind of like a proof of concept and what's possible. Now we need to figure out how we can scale it. Yeah, I think that our team is actually working hard on trying to answer some of those questions so mixed reality can be more scalable.
Yeah, I agree with Juan here. I mean, I think for me the dream is to see more augmented reality around the world. I want to augment more festivals and just more locations. And I think that just really happy that, at Coachella we started with one artist and now we went to 3, and I'm hoping that we can streamline the process to be able to have augmented reality for all the artists and make that process a lot easier and teach people the process and how it all works, so they're more comfortable with the workflow and process. Because I think right now it's a very scary thing for everyone. It's very technical, it's very hard. There's not many teams that know how to do augmented reality at a broadcast level, and I'm just hoping that the tools get easier so that everyone in this room, if you guys use Unreal Engine, you guys can also augment your own events and projects.
All right, thank you all for coming out. Enjoy the rest of your fest.